Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into some major news from Ubisoft about the future of the Far Cry franchise. For over 15 years, Far Cry has been synonymous with epic open-world adventures, memorable villains, and the freedom to approach gameplay your own way. But now Ubisoft is signaling a bold shift, one that could redefine how the series is experienced. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot recently stated that future Far Cry titles will bring the multiplayer aspects more predominantly pushed so that can also be played for a long time by players. In other words, the company is making multiplayer a central focus rather than an optional extra. Today we'll break down what that means for Far Cry 7, what we know about the game so far, and the potential benefits and drawbacks of a co-op story versus a traditional single-player campaign. Before we get into Far Cry 7, it's worth looking at the series' history. Far Cry started back in 2004 as a first-person shooter with open-world elements, giving players unprecedented freedom. Each entry since then, Far Cry 2 through Far Cry 6, has emphasized exploration, combat variety, and narrative-driven gameplay. Ubisoft has experimented with multiplayer in the past, but always as a secondary feature. Far Cry 4 introduced a two-player co-op mode, letting you explore Kyrat with a friend. Far Cry 5 expanded co-op, allowing players to tackle the main story together. And Far Cry 6 included both co-op and competitive player versus player modes. However, the single-player narrative has always been the heart of the franchise. That's why this upcoming shift toward multiplayer first is so noteworthy. So what do we know about Far Cry 7? Information is still limited, but several points have emerged. First, the game will feature co-op integrated directly into the main story. Unlike past entries where co-op was optional or separate, this will allow two players to experience the core narrative together. Ubisoft is also emphasizing multiplayer replayability, likely with expanded player versus player or cooperative missions beyond the campaign. Additionally, there's Project Maverick, a standalone multiplayer extraction shooter set in the Alaskan wilderness. While separate from Far Cry 7, Project Maverick demonstrates Ubisoft's broader strategy, making multiplayer a core pillar of the franchise, while still exploring unique settings and gameplay experiences. There are several clear benefits to this co-op approach. First, it allows players to share the experience with friends, coordinating strategies for missions, and tackling objectives together. The dynamic of working with another player can make exploration and combat feel more engaging and unpredictable. Second, co-op enhances replayability. Players may try different approaches with different partners, experiment with teamwork strategies, or revisit missions to experience alternate outcomes. Third, it can create unique social moments. Just as in games like Borderlands or Left 4 Dead, co-op can turn ordinary gameplay into memorable shared experiences, whether it's a coordinated assault on an enemy stronghold or a chaotic escape from a wildlife encounter. But there are trade-offs too. Far Cry has always excelled at single-player storytelling. Introducing co-op as a central feature could dilute narrative impact because the story must accommodate two players instead of one. Emotional beats, character interactions, and villain moments may need to be simplified or adjusted, potentially lessening immersion. Pacing could also be affected. Missions designed for co-op may feel slower or less tense if players split tasks or revive each other frequently. For solo players, co-op mechanics could feel limiting or the story may feel less personal. Balancing gameplay for both single player and co-op is always a challenge, and Ubisoft will need to carefully design encounters to avoid frustration or imbalance. Now here's my take on this. I think it could be great depending on how the multiplayer is handled. If it's tacked on like the multiplayer in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with the co-op missions, it may not really add much to the experience. But if Far Cry 7 has real co-op similar to Grand Theft Auto 5 where multiple players can actively work together in the story with different players controlling different characters, then it could be an incredibly fun and engaging experience. Properly implemented, co-op could elevate the game and make it feel fresh even for longtime fans. The shift is significant for the franchise. On one hand, it could bring Far Cry to a broader audience, players who enjoy social gameplay, competitive or cooperative experiences, and live service content. It could extend the lifespan of Far Cry 7 dramatically, keeping players engaged for months after release. On the other hand, there's a risk. Longtime fans who value narrative driven solo adventures may feel alienated. Ubisoft will have to carefully balance co op mechanics without losing the essence of what makes Far Cry compelling: freedom, exploration, dynamic combat, and storytelling. Looking at other franchises can provide insight. Borderlands has thrived with a co op first approach, allowing players to share the story while keeping it engaging. Meanwhile, some franchises like Bioshock Infinite or Dishonored show that strong solo narratives can get diluted if forced into co op. Far Cry 7 will have to find the middle ground, delivering an experience that works whether you play it alone or with a friend. In summary, Ubisoft is taking a bold step with Far Cry 7, emphasizing multiplayer and co-op in ways the series hasn't seen before. There are exciting possibilities, shared adventures, tactical gameplay, and more replayability, but there are also concerns about narrative depth and the solo experience. For me personally, I'm cautiously optimistic. If Ubisoft handles co-op properly, it could be a fantastic evolution for the franchise, but it all depends on execution. So what do you think? Are you excited about co-op in Far Cry 7, or do you prefer the traditional single-player approach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more updates on Far Cry 7 and other gaming news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.